welcome back to Drink Full and Descend, a fanatical analysis of Twin Peaks. Hi, Cameron. How you doing?
Pretty good, Mike. How are you this evening?
I'm doing really well.
All
so
right.
I'm excited to be on episode 8 now.
Indeed.
Yes, so we have caught up to almost what's current. We're going to run through all the events of Twin Peaks The Return, episode 8.
Right. So we're going to pick up in episode 8 here, kind of where we left off in episode 7, at least with Mr. C and Ray, and they are driving away from the prison.
Right, so the wardens let him out. And I do like how the last few episodes have been kind of seamless, where it's left off from and picked up to again.
There's at least been a bit of that, yeah.
It's making me feel like this really is an 18-hour-long film that we can
Either
only take an hour at a time.
Dougie or Mr. C, where we're kind of picking up right where we left off.
Right.
So to remind everyone, Mr. C asked Warden Murphy for a friend in the glove box. But first, okay, so he's driving along here with Ray. They have a little conversation about this information and so on, right?
Right. So Ray is kind of speaking up, saying, about this information. He says he's memorized it. And he says he thinks it might be worth some money, maybe possibly quite a lot of money.
You think so, do you?
So it feels like a shakedown, right? He's kind of coming at Mr. C, saying he wants more money for this information he's after.
Right, but unsurprisingly, Mr. C does not seem to be having that from the get-go. We might also mention here that Mr. C sort of lies to Ray about Daria, implying that she's still alive.
Right, he says that she's waiting for when they get to somewhere safe, they're going to give her a call.
Right, and then he asks Ray, he says, I suppose you probably want to go to this place they call the farm.
Right.
Right.
And so we don't exactly know where that is. We can speculate. But at this point is the point where Ray says that he's got the information memorized, right?
Right, he has it memorized, and
it's not that long after that before Mr. C says, you know what, here's the road we're looking for. Why don't you pull off the road here?
yeah, and we have again some of this road imagery with the headlights that we've seen before in the return here, but also again very reminiscent of Lost Highway in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, just the soundtrack, the flashing lights, the POV shot from the car that you're just kind of moving through a void of space.
Right, and I always love this kind of shot in Lynch of the creepiness of thinking about that on a dark road. You can only see so far ahead.
Right.
You don't know what's coming.
Another little detail about this scene is that Mr. C points out that there are 3 homing beacons, tracking devices.
Oh, right. We see his sort of magic technology again.
He pulls out his magic technology. He pulls up behind a semi-rig and goes using his phone and his magic tech, transfers somehow the tracking devices to the truck.
Apparently he can type in the license plate number of this truck and throw his phone out the window, and that's that. Mm-hmm. If anything like this exists in the real world, I'm not aware of it.
Right.
Feel free to let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I'd love to use something like that from day to day. But a couple things significant about that. First of all, that the warden hasn't let him go free. Basically.
Not entirely. But
so
that makes
he
sense.
is still trying to track where he's going.
Yeah, that makes sense, though, right?
But that Mr. C is too smart for that. And so the tracking devices continue down the road, but they pull off the road. And, of course, we don't know. This doesn't seem to be really the road he wants to take, but it's kind of because of what Ray mentions.
Yeah, I don't know if that's entirely clear, but he does say, okay, take this road up here. And then we're back to another urination moment. Ray says he's got to take a piss.
Right.
Yeah.
So they pull over. Ray goes out to take a leak on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. C opens up the glove box, finds his friend, checks to make sure that there are bullets in the gun, which is clearly what he meant by friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then gets out, and says to Ray something like, looks like you're out of $500,000, which is also a callback, recall, to the fact that Ray and Daria were supposed to kill Mr. C for $500,000. Right. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's
which he finds out when he kills Daria.
Right.
And he's also trying to find out who's trying to kill him.
Yeah, so he's kind of telling Ray he knows that right here.
Yeah.
But Ray turns the tables on him. Mr. C's gun doesn't work.
So Mr. C does go to shoot first, but the gun fails. Clicks. And we know that he's checked for bullets, so...
Just something wrong with the mechanism, I guess. Firing pin, is that a thing? I don't know my guns very well.
Well, I think, something in the mechanism with the firing pin must have been messed with. The warden provided him a friend.
Yeah.
However, the gun isn't working, so this also leads us to think that maybe Ray got in with the warden and made some sort of deal also with the warden.
Well, I certainly thought so, because otherwise, where did Ray get his gun?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
He turns around and he says, trick you fucker, and shoots Mr. C a couple times.
Yeah.
And I mean, where else would Ray have got that gun other than from Warden Murphy? They were just in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the warden kind of, I think, has to be in on Ray's attempt to turn the tables here.
Correct.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. That's my thinking of it. And this sets up a very scary moment also. So Ray shoots evil Mr. C twice, walks up to him, and after shooting him a couple times, he kind of aims the gun down while he's on the ground, like he's going to take the kill shot.
Finish him, you know.
But what prevents him from doing this is he starts to see these charred men.
Right. These figures who we've seen before, who we've talked about, or we've seen at least one of them in Buckhorn.
Right.
And it is the case in the credits here that the one of them who talks later in the episode is credited as Woodsman. So I think it's fair at this point even to go ahead and call all of these figures Woodsmen, don't you?
Yep. So we learn this from the credits, and it also ties into the destruction of the forest around Twin Peaks with these big logging companies, and a woodsman being one of these people that will come in and work the wood and cut the wood down.
Yeah, and I think as we mentioned in an earlier podcast, we had kind of been thinking about those figures from Fire Walk With Me and that convenience store scene.
Yeah.
It turns out they are also credited as woodsmen back in Fire Walk With Me, so apparently there is a connection there, right? Again, those guys in Fire Walk With Me weren't all sooty, or however
they weren't charred. It was like pre-fire or something, but they were wearing similar garb.
Yeah.
And so there is a connection there somehow.
But one of the great things about this scene is the music.
Yeah.
Right, which turns out to be a slowed down Moonlight Sonata, Beethoven here, and you get some like monkey screams mixed in. I think
I see.
And Ray's kind of freaking out.
It's pretty intense. Yeah, we also know that we've seen that this is a moonlit scene, where there is a showdown scene, and it reminded me of a little bit of a Wild West, like turn, face each other, fire.
Yeah.
And in this moment that Ray shoots Mr. C, he's going in for the headshot, like we say, but he's rushed by these kind of wraith figures, these woodsmen.
Well, and they start freaking him out. I mean, he's really freaking out, as you would.
Yeah,
right?
He falls to the ground and he's terrorized.
These guys show up, and then they start rubbing Mr. C's blood all over him. It seems like they're performing some kind of ritual.
Seems like they're patting down the dirt underneath him or something. This is an overlay shot where they're not. And possibly some of them are in the same shot with Kyle MacLachlan there.
Right.
But it seems to me like it's an overlay where they're pumping at the ground and throwing dirt up, and maybe one or two of them are in the shot rubbing blood on Kyle MacLachlan as well.
Yeah, and this goes on for a bit, and we have Ray freaking out. A couple things to note about Mr. C's gun wounds. One is that it does seem like he shot, if not in the same place, in a very similar place as to where
Josie shot Cooper.
Where Josie shot Cooper.
Right. interesting.
In the original run.
Mm-hmm. Of course, he was wearing a bulletproof vest during that whole scenario, right?
Yeah, but he'd pulled it up to get at a tick.
That's right.
Right, and so he ends up with that wound there in the lower part of his stomach.
Right.
But that's at least where one of the bullets went into Mr. C, and it's also where we see that Bob thing. How do you want to describe this?
Yeah, so, they're sitting there doing what seems to be some sort of ritual with mud and blood and dirt.
And dark. Yeah.
And they're rubbing blood all over him, and then we see out of this wound area a bit of slimy, moldy bubble pops up, and then after a second you sort of see that Bob's face is inside of it.
Yeah, and it was actually really hard to see. You had to be watching closely here. Yeah. The whole shot is so dark.
Yeah.
But it's clear, it's there that this kind of grinning face of Bob appears sort of in the wound.
And how did you take this? I was thinking, okay, so this is Bob leaving Cooper's body, and that's what we've been hoping for for a second?
Yeah, this is what I was wondering at least. So are these woodsmen harvesting Bob, maybe? That struck me as a possibility.
But I also got the impression that they were trying to push Bob back down into Cooper's body.
That seems like the other possibility.
Yeah.
Right? So it seems,
and we don't really see. There's a cut.
Yeah,
right?
Kind of one or the other of those things is happening, and we kind of leave it there. We follow Ray.
Mm-hmm. Ray freaks out. He's totally scared. He runs to the car and dashes off.
Yeah, but I love that then when he's on the phone to Philip, we'll talk about that in a minute, but he says something very nonchalantly about...
I think
he had some help.
Yeah.
So he goes from freaking out to characterizing this as he had some help.
Right.
That amused me.
And he also says something along the lines of, I saw something in Cooper that may be the key to understanding this whole thing or whatnot.
Yeah, so maybe he saw that Bob face.
Yeah.
I
got the impression.
in is Ray? That was one of my questions here.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls Philip. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Right. So we don't know basically exactly where they were going, but we assume it was going to meet Philip Jeffries.
Yeah, I don't know. I certainly, when Ray got on the phone to Philip, the first time I watched the episode, I kind of presumed Philip Jeffries. But as we've talked about a little bit on here, there is this other Philip Gerard. Ray talks to a Philip. Mm-hmm. We don't actually know who this Philip is, now that I'm thinking about it more. But he says that Mr. C knows, or Mr. Cooper, I think he calls him here, knows where he's going, so if he's not dead, he'll catch up with him then, which implies that Ray is going to continue on to this place called the farm.
Right. And we expect that he's expecting a confrontation with Mr. C if he is not dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mr. C's the kind of guy who's going to come after you if you try to kill him and fail.
Yeah. The other thing that makes me think this is Philip Jeffries, though, is because of the hotel room scene. That we already know Philip Jeffries, or whoever is using the name Philip Jeffries, has been in communication with Ray and Daria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I think
directly with Mr. C, telling him he needs to go back into the lodge.
It is true. I think in that previous scene, it was a reference to Jeffries when Ray and Daria were on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So fair enough. I just I noted that he just says Philip. Mm-hmm. And as we've talked about, I've been thinking about Philip Gerard a bit recently, so just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, always worth mentioning, for sure.
Yeah.
So this takes us to, we cut from this in a super extreme moment, wondering what's going to happen with Mr. C. Are we going to get our coupe back? And it takes us to the Roadhouse.
For music, because the episode's over. Wait,
now, this is interesting. Yeah, exactly. We have been set up and conditioned so far to take a cue from the Roadhouse and a band playing, meaning that that's the end of the episode. But here we are, 10 minutes into this episode?
Something like that. So as soon as this hit, I started thinking something's going on. I mean, we talked about how they sort of started to subvert our expectations in episode 7 with the floor sweeping.
Correct, yeah.
Coming a little before the end and all of that. But yeah, so what is the structure of this episode going to be? You get the MC. This is the first time we've had an MC introducing the band, too.
Correct.
Who introduces us to the 9 Inch Nails.
Yes.
Right. Which is not their name.
Which I got to say, I think is another one of those moments of like, oh, here's something from the past that we haven't thought too much about for a long time, but look how awesome it is. And just the nostalgia of like, oh yeah, this sounds good, and that represented that whole time and place, like in the 90s, where there was this sound happening and certain things you were familiar with back then.
Of course, 9 Inch Nails have continued to make music basically since then. The song is actually from the EP they put out last year in 2016, called "Not the Actual Events."
I see. And the song itself, I mean, just from listening to the lyrics that Trent Reznor's singing during this scene, there's a couple things in here. He's saying, she's gone away, first of all, seems to be the chorus
she's
to it.
She's gone is the name of the song.
She's gone away. There's a couple lines in there, one of which is, spread the infection where you spill your seed.
Right. And then another mention of memory, or I can't remember what she came here for, or something like this.
And I can't remember much of anything. And then there was a reference to something about when the skin turns black.
Yeah.
Which also I thought of with these woodsman characters.
Lots of connections here. And also, given where it is in the episode, Lynch is kind of forcing us to watch this whole performance. Right?
It's longer than the other ones we've seen. It's a full performance. It's like throwing down a clever music video right in the middle of your project.
Right. I mean, I suppose some people might have just been sitting there rolling their eyes and cursing David Lynch, but he basically makes us watch the whole thing, and I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Well, and following with the lyric thing, there's a couple other ones in there. How something about you weren't watching on the day she died.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some reference to a young lady dying. I kind of got the thought maybe the lyrics were kind of describing Bob and Laura.
Yeah, you can definitely make these types of connections.
And just the way that the band looks, right? So, and it's 9 Inch Nails, just a reference to, originally the band name coming from the length of nails used to hammer Christ to the cross, right?
Yeah.
So there's kind of like some religious iconography going on here subtly.
Yeah.
There's also kind of like the heavy black and leather kind of thing going on. And then there's some mimicking, I feel like, at certain times that Trent Reznor actually is kind of mimicking maybe Bob laughing or something, but that crazy evil laughter. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. I am a fan of the Nine Inch Nails, and that seems in line with his style. But it definitely fits really well. You know, and I think we noted before that all of these band members are on the cast list. So that line between whether they are actors in the story or, you know, the band is blurred a little bit.
Right.
So all of this is cool.
And also in juxtaposition, the other musical acts we've seen all kind of reminded me of Julie Cruz. They all kind of had this lightness to them.
Yeah.
This poppiness to them, the sweetness maybe.
But this is dark.
This is very dark. Yeah.
And so from there we cut.
And from there we cut back to Mr. C sitting upright back in that desert. Turns out he's not dead from the bullet wounds from Ray. It's a little cliffhanger moment, right?
Yeah, we're still wondering, you know, what's going on here. At this point, whether Bob is still with him, right? But this is all we get. A fairly brief scene of him sitting up, and he's not dead. That's basically it.
Okay, and then from this scene begins basically what I would call so far my favorite television moment in history.
Or even I'm tempted to say one of the best 40-minute experimental films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know?
You could state that as well. But we take a right turn, and it goes from this moment where we're looking at Mr. C's face to kind of a silent shot that's an establishing shot far up in the sky looking down on the desert of New Mexico, White Sands, New Mexico.
July 16th, 1945, 5:29 a.m.
We start to hear a countdown from 10, and as this voice is counting down, we kind of realize that this is a test or rocket launch or something. And then finally we see the flash of light, which coincides with some violin strings.
Right, so we get the music coming in here. This is Penderecki's Threnody to the Victims of Hiroshima. Very, I guess, contemporary music is what this would often be referred to. Very atonal music. I dig this kind of stuff. That might make me weird. But one of the things that struck me was how that music was being employed here. It was very, very cool.
Yeah. I thought it sounded great. And we see the flash, and there's kind of a stunning moment of like, oh, we're watching the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Blowing up.
Yeah.
The splitting of an atom and the greatest source of energy that humans have come across so far.
Right. And paying attention to the date and time, this was the first one. This is the Trinity test, culminating the Manhattan Project. This is the event after which Oppenheimer famously said, I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Yes.
A little more to that quote, but that's the thing people remember. And then this intermingling in the sound of the explosion and the Penderecki piece. And then the visuals, right? We just kind of zoom into the middle of the blast.
We're slowly flying into this, but we start from so far away from it. And looking down on the terrain, we can see kind of the pressure wave that's shooting out and disturbing the soil.
It's so intense.
We're flying into it. And, let me just say how beautiful this shot is. So, again, here's one of these moments of something really like god-awful and comes in with a bunch of negativity attached to it, but just shot and represented in quite a beautiful way.
It was so great. I mean, honestly, though, Mike, the first time I watched this, it was so intense that during the sequence, there were a couple of times I had to look away, as I think I mentioned to you, because you don't know when it's going to end. Like, when am I going to get to breathe again?
Right.
You know?
So we go through the next 40 minutes, and we're going to describe all this here, but just to let anybody know, of course, this is that moment that you were hearing everybody talk about the next day. Episode 8 was all over the internet.
Trending on Twitter internationally, I think I read.
Yeah. It's an extreme moment where a number of things happen that are up for interpretation. But at the same time, in this point, we mentioned a little bit ago where the musical act usually comes at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And it was, in some way, I felt like that was the end of episode 8, was Nine Inch Nails' performance.
Yeah.
And now we're on to something new.
Particularly with that marker there.
Yes.
Once we got to the explosion, I was thinking, we're never going back to normal.
Yeah.
This is just going to continue.
This is going to be the rest of the episode.
It was really intense for me, particularly that first time. Now, I'll mention the second time I watched it, I was just like holding my eyelids open, you know. But,
yeah, I was pretty transfixed. This whole thing, there was, just the sound design of it and what it looked like, and the fact that you're flying into something you've never ever seen before.
Yeah, and maybe
you're flying into the center of a mushroom cloud of an atomic blast.
Yeah, and maybe before carrying forward, let's take a moment to talk about just what it means to see something like this on TV. I had this thought that even though this is Showtime, prestige cable television or whatever, that this was still breaking the rules in a way that was maybe like what the original Twin Peaks was doing, being on network primetime television.
Right. You get the idea that you would never see something like this outside of an art house theater or something like that.
Kudos to Showtime for letting them do this.
Great job, Showtime. And furthermore, I think there's something bigger here about the statement that Lynch is making. In many ways, I feel like the arts in cinema and represented on television have kind of plateaued.
Yeah.
If it doesn't meet the algorithm, it doesn't fly. And to the studios, if you can't prove that your project can play internationally for the largest sum of profit, then you're not going to get funded.
Yeah.
But there's very, very few people who can break through that, and Lynch has proven here that he's one of them.
Indeed.
And he first told Showtime, like, "Oh, you're not going to give us the money? Fine, we're not doing it. Too bad. Goodbye."
But he's got enough cred, if you like, that they were willing to just basically write him this check and say, "Go do it." Yeah.
And so the next 40 minutes of episode 8 that we're talking about, I think, is going to be looked back upon as one of those moments of a watershed moment.
I hope so.
That this is what I'm praying for. That will allow the networks and all the producers to kind of free up into a little bit more surreal, a little bit more abstract thought and representation. And, let's get weird, basically, because there's a lot that we can find in this kind of art, and there's a lot of people that enjoy it and appreciate it, and it shouldn't be stuffed into a corner and filed amongst the ranks of cult shows only, But all in all, this was definitely a wow moment. I was sitting there transfixed going wow with every second. So we're flying into the cloud. Mm-hmm. There's the soundtrack, of course, that we're talking about. But as we enter the cloud, we see the chaos of matter flying around and being disturbed.
Down to the molecular level, it would seem.
I kind of felt like we went through a phase of cloudiness and chaos, fire itself, down to the molecular level. And even below that, the way that the scattering of matter happens, I kind of felt there was an obvious point where it went from molecular to atomic. And we get fire, we get explosions within explosions.
Right, bearing in mind, we are splitting the atom here, right? Mm-hmm. This is the moment that humanity did something impossible, right? Or something that you might have thought should have been impossible. Mm-hmm. I mean, atom literally means you can't cut it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Going back to the ancient Greeks and so on and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. But to split the atom then means that we have cut in two, or whatever, something that should be indivisible, right? And it happened.
Yeah, it's truly
boom,
profound. Yeah.
Right.
This is one of those marker moments of all humanity and all of our evolution, and I think that they're using that in a very clever way. This does. This is represented a bit in The Secret History of Twin Peaks. Yeah. Where the book goes into Dougie Milford's career as a possible Man in Black, possibly studying, extraterrestrial, interdimensional life, and
Jack Parsons.
And Jack Parsons. So Jack Parsons being the figure that is working out rocket fuel and getting us to launch rockets.
A historically existing figure, by the way, right?
Yep.
This is not a fictional.
Yeah,
fictional
a scientist that's working for the government on very practical and secure and secret defense projects, but who is also an alchemist and an occultist.
Yeah, into like sex magic and stuff.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to see this line where there's a duality. One side it's spiritual magic, the other side is science itself.
Right. So. And
it comes together in this explosion, which of course also is the greatest symbol of destruction that we know about.
Right, whether we're talking about Twin Peaks or not, the invention of the atomic bomb is a watershed moment in human history. This is a turning point.
Yeah,
right?
Where we've jumped from the scientific ability to destroy hundreds of thousands of people at once. It's devastating. And of course, the song mentioning Hiroshima, and we've seen it demonstrated in World War II. At the end of World War II, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And, just going down in history is that great moment that is both a triumph of technological achievement. It's also a great shame at the same time.
Yeah. Indeed.
So another thing that I would like to mention at this point is, we talked about Kubrick and Lynch's friendship and how they've influenced each other, actually, as David Lynch was coming up as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I definitely see there's a bit of an homage here. It definitely reminds me of the end scene in 2001 where we're flashing through a series of colors and matter moving in these patterns that are happening. In 2001, it's more like launching out into space, expanding. Whereas here, we're
the
kind of going inside.
And all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the end of this sequence in 2001, we end up with the Star Child.
Yeah.
At the end of the sequence here, we end up with a couple other characters that aren't maybe so innocent as a Star Child seems to look. But just the soundtrack, too. In 2001, there was use of this kind of music as well.
Kubrick has also used music from the same composer, Christoph Penderecki, in The Shining, for example, and maybe in some other places. Yeah, so. And
so I couldn't help but think that this was a conscious thing for Lynch to be kind of putting his take on that scenario, which also was, in 2001, the moment that human evolution itself leapt forward, right? And so that's what we're seeing here as well with the bomb.
Yeah.
Only in 2001, again, it's about space travel. It's about going outside, finding another planet, possible new sources of energy, and possibly spreading our seed throughout the cosmos. Whereas here, it's looking inward and going subatomic.
Yeah, and I wish that Kubrick were still with us so we could hear what he might think about this.
Yeah, that would be great.
I am curious what Christoph Penderecki might think about this. He is still alive. But we we have all this burning and molecular stuff going on, and the first moment that I thought broke the tension a little bit, which is saying something, is when we get to this convenience store scene.
Right. So we go inside the bomb, we see all the chaos of it, and suddenly we're in a convenience store. And is this a vision? Is this a dream? Have we hit another dimension?
I don't know. It's black and white. It says convenience store, which I believe is anachronistic.
Okay.
I don't think that term was in fashion in 1945.
Okay.
But this is another one of those times where we get this very sort of choppy editing with the figures milling around.
Yeah, this is some great stuff. Anybody that's edited on a nonlinear digital platform has probably at some point scrubbed the timeline with the cursor, with the marker. And in so doing, when you do that, you get this kind of jumpiness that even has a certain sound because it's scrubbing the audio also.
Right.
And so as I was watching this, I kind of felt like this was something that Lynch had come across and wanted to use it as an actual effect and not just a side effect of the editing system.
Yeah. And I read this as Woodsman. Were you taking it the same way? That these
exactly. This is the second time we've seen more than one of them.
Yeah.
Right when we see Mr. C shot, that's the first time we see more than one of the Woodsmen, and we see many of them. And then leading to this, we not only see many of them, but we see them kind of birthing, kind of be exponentially growing. It felt like to me like this was the unleashing of them from the convenience store or something.
Right. So we should note the reference to a convenience store, which should remind us of this idea that Mike and Bob lived above a convenience store.
Correct.
The scene in Firewalk with Me, that meeting, I think, is supposed to be above the convenience store.
Correct. A couple other symbols in the scene. We have the cans in the windows stacked up, right?
Which are corn, right?
Well, I don't know if it's specifically, you can tell that they are corn, but I certainly was thinking cans of creamed corn.
Yeah, okay. And then outside there are gas pumps.
Yes,
right?
And then the gas pumps, which, of course, so much of this that we've talked about, scorched engine oil, cutting down trees, even to Dr. Jacoby's, 7 p.m., where's your freedom at?
Yeah.
His tirade there it's something to be said about technology and the destruction of the natural world. Through the new technologies that we're using for energy, and the scorched engine oil and gasoline,
right, and convenience. Oh, and
which is all combustion, also, which is also destruction.
Right, and oil. Right, is it not the case that oil technically, literally, is like
plants and dinosaur
the
bodies
ancient
and,
dead?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So we're running our cars on really, really old dead things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing to think about. And you know that Lynch and Frost are both privy to looking into this kind of symbology.
About this shit.
Yeah.
And the cans, whether they're corn or not, that move too, right? As we move into the atomic age where we're more and more going to be doing this kind of shit, buying canned food.
Stockpile your food because you never know.
Right, you need to get it in
too.
your bomb shelter and all of that, right? So you're not just going to buy ears of corn at the farmer's market or whatever parallel would be there, but instead you're going to get these cans of maybe even creamed corn.
Right.
Yeah.
We also see a staircase off to the side of the convenience store, which to me makes sense because, as you mentioned, Mike and Bob living above the convenience store.
Yeah, but
what looks like a one-floor shack, you see a staircase off to the side.
Right, exactly. In this first shot, it doesn't seem like there really is an above.
Yeah, but there's a staircase going up there. So whether that is an enclosure above the first floor or not, we know that there is a space you can get to that is above it. We also see a telephone booth. So I think that's interesting, just the forms of communication and electrical signals running through cables again. Yeah. So the action we see in this scene, we see a lot of strobing lights. We see this kind of skipping and dropping of frames that we talked about. We see the woodsmen running all around like ants almost, like sometimes bumping into each other, it feels. But there's many of them. It's a chaotic scene. It's disturbing. And we also see that the focus changes a bit. Sometimes you lose focus. Yeah. And then it comes back as clarity.
Thinking about that editing and the sound, and in particular now that you're talking about the focus again, maybe we should remember the eyeless woman, Naido. Yeah. Because there was a similar editing effect. The sound was maybe similar, and of course she couldn't see, and I don't know what connection we might draw here, but just wanted to mention it.
Yeah. And there's also some pounding in that scene and some fearful build-up to what kind of beast was at the door or something,
Right. So speaking of monsters.
Yes. So we go from this to the experiment, right?
Yeah, in the credits now it is experiment, is what it says, and very reminiscent of the figure we saw previously in the glass box
In the
scene.
glass box, yeah.
If not the same figure.
Possibly.
In this episode, in the credits, it says experiment, and I think we noted that in episode 1 it said experiment model.
Right.
I don't know. I'm still kind of thinking maybe they're the same being. I guess there could be two of these things, but I'm leaning still more towards there only being one. What about you?
I would be hesitant to say.
Yeah.
An experiment model sounds like it was a first run at it or something that was not successful.
I really don't know.
And if that showed up in the box linked somehow to Cooper also coming into the box. Yeah, that's it's pure speculation to me, but I kind of felt that was maybe a run at it that was unsuccessful.
I mean, I guess I know we put emphasis on the credits. I'm just hesitating a little bit to put too much emphasis on the credits for part 1. Yeah. Because, as we mentioned, they ran part 1 and 2 together when it originally aired. Right. And as I recall, in watching it that way, all we got were the very same credits that are now there in episode 2. Right. So these episode 1 credits where it's experiment model are only there now once it's separated. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, we get...
But what struck me about this scene was how it went from such chaos in the sound and the rhythm. A little bit. And it mellows a little bit. Yeah. It's silent. You hear this kind of breathing happening, and it's very calm and relaxed. And then the experiment itself, as the experiment is moving toward the camera, starts ejecting what I can only call maybe ectoplasm. Yeah. Where it's coming out of the head or the mouth of the experiment. Yeah. And it's like this breath, right? The breathing, but it's like a goo, and you can tell as you look at it that there are hundreds of eggs inside of it.
Yeah, you can see the eggs sort of streaming forth, and then I think everyone noticed the face of Bob.
And of course it's Bob inside this little orb that might have been the same orb that we previously saw trying to escape from Mr. C, right? It reminded me of that.
Definitely very similar. So people now are thinking, oh, is this sort of Bob's origin story or something like that? Or, did... the nuclear explosion unleash Bob on the world. Right. Something like this seems to be, well, not wrong.
And also, Bob has gotten a promotion from being a local sentient demigod to full-on disastrous one of the horsemen of the apocalypse or something, right? So, taking the figure of Bob and associating it in this cosmic way with the experiment... it's the only human face that we see in that scenario.
Right. Other than that, it's just these eggs.
So this is just really profound. I was online the next day looking, and amongst many other people, I kind of thought, oh, is this the origin of Bob? Bob came from the atomic bomb.
Well, yeah, or it seems something like that probably is being said here. I'm more along the lines of thinking that this is a matter of kind of unleashing Bob, like maybe existed in some other dimension or something like that.
Right,
that
and this goes with the secret history.
Through. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that this is necessarily the birth of Bob.
Right. I tend to agree. Yeah.
Something along these lines seems like it's on the right track.
But it makes you feel like, okay, Bob is an ancient one or something. Bob is like an H.P. Lovecraft figure or something, not just some lowly demon that can get somebody to murder their daughter, Yeah,
definitely.
But far more powerful than that.
Ramping up the stakes of Bob here, I think. Yeah.
And in Secret History, we kind of see the chapters in there that we referenced earlier where it's talking about Dougie meeting up with Jack Parsons and being described that they were doing some destructive bomb tests to try to basically open a rift, a gateway to what they might have called hell, but would have been a gateway to another dimension.
Yeah.
And so if we're reading into that and applying that here, it might be that the atomic bomb was the first successful opening up of a rift from another dimension.
Yeah. I mean, of course, did that happen another 2,400 times? Okay, whatever.
Right.
Just noting the number of bombs we've set off as a species.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I wanted to be sure to mention here, right, is that even though you've got Bob tied in here, Bob is not responsible for the invention of the atomic bomb, right? This is just mundane human evil.
Well, this is something that we were talking about in one of our previous podcasts also, is what's the FBI's role in this? What's the federal government's role in this?
Yeah, exactly.
The ones we call the authorities were the ones that pulled off this destructive force.
Yeah, and just human beings and the government and so on and so forth, right? So we're not off the hook as human beings, right? It's not as though we're being told that, these evil spirits from another dimension are responsible for all the bad shit we do.
Right.
No, we blew up that bomb.
Yeah.
Right. So if anything, we're responsible for Bob, not the other way
exactly.
around.
And it reminded me of the vampire thing, that a vampire can't come into your home unless you invite him or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's on us.
Yeah.
The other thing, the experiment, actually, if you look closely at the head of the experiment, there are these little like horns.
Right,
and it reminded me of the head figure that's drawn on the card that Mr. C is showing Daria before he kills her.
Me too. Looking at it, you have to look kind of closely. But it does seem to have kind of little, do you call them horns, I guess?
Horns or antennae.
Or something kind of coming out of its head.
But like little ant head that we saw on the card. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, I think it's very similar. Yeah, so we should definitely note that.
So note that for sure. Okay, so then we go from the experiment. There's a little bit more chaos. We go back into some fire.
The fire hits hard, too.
The fire hits really hard at this point.
Penderecki kicks back in, and the fire's...
And we're like cyclones of fire inside other storms of fire, and I felt like this descending into hell kind of feel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We go from that to the scattered red dots. This part reminded me of like blood cells or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that,
or we're subatomic.
Deep in the fire, or
this is something no human has ever witnessed before, maybe.
Yeah, but definitely really cool. Really cool effect, and again, really intense here. Yeah.
From this, we transition to very calming, soft, flowing water, like the lake.
Yeah, first in the middle here, I do want to mention that you see what struck me as a kind of little metal ball, kind of molten, which made me think of the thing Dougie turned into in the lodge and things like that. That image is kind of wrapped up in here too. But you're right, then to the water.
And we're zooming across the water. And this is a nice, beautiful shot, too. Again, like this whole segment is slow, and Lynch is taking his time. He knows that we need a second to process what we just saw.
Now we can breathe. That was how I was like, oh.
So we're breathing, we're flying across the water. But again, this also reminded me of the 2001 bit because, once Dave is flying through the kind of color of Lightspeed Travel or whatever he's doing, it does calm back down to flying over some planet's terrain in different colors. And so that's what we've got here, where it's calming. We're flying over an ocean or a lake. And although it takes its time to get there, you see in the distance appears a giant stone rock tower rising up out of the water.
So I want to talk about the structure a little bit. But first of all, we come in through the window, right? Another thing where you were thinking about Kubrick, right?
Yeah, I thought this was also definitely an homage because we fly up to the base of this rock mountain in the middle of the ocean or lake. We rise up the side of it.
Yeah.
And we see that this structure is, in fact, huge.
Yeah.
We can compare it to what we saw Cooper enter earlier, like you mentioned with Naido.
Yes.
But it zooms into one of the levels where at first you see a speck, and then as we get closer, you realize it's a giant window. And then we zoom all the way in through that window. As soon as I saw that window, though, I thought of the 2001 obelisk. It's the same size and shape. And I know just from researching that project, that it was hinted that Kubrick might have been trying to show us a representation of the cinema screen itself, being one of those things that we can enter into. But also it was, again, at one of those moments of a big jump in human evolution.
It's always a transitional moment, right? You see the monolith or whatever when the monkeys discover weapons.
Exactly.
Then I think you see it again with the Star Child kind of moment, as I recall.
Mm-hmm. And then it's buried on the moon at one point.
Yeah,
you know.
Interesting.
Cool. So as we're approaching this giant tower up on top of a rock, we enter through this window, and it is the same size and shape, and I definitely did think that was linked to the obelisk.
And the structure here is, in many ways, reminiscent, I think, of what we saw in that previous scene from episode 3, I guess it was.
I felt like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same, but there's some similarity. We enter through the window in terms of the shot. Mm-hmm. Recall Cooper went in through the window there too.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And various things look similar. You notice the bell
there's the bell-shaped metal thing, yeah. As well as I feel like the walls are kind of the same consistency and texture. We don't see a full shot of the structure the first time. We just see Cooper kind of looking out over a balcony.
Right, but if you recall that scene, then, when Cooper and Naito go up a ladder, then they're like floating in outer space.
Right.
And where we are now here in episode 8 is definitely grounded, it seems, right? It's sort of a tower by the sea.
Right. And so we go in through the wall, and when we get on the inside, we see kind of an old-timey scene that looks like turn of the century or earlier.
Right.
And we see old phonograph, we see old electrical bell.
Right, so this seems like it's the same phonograph or gramophone as from the very beginning of part 1,
right?
I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the music here apparently is composed by David Lynch and Dean Hurley. Mm-hmm. And the title is Slow 30s Room, which fits.
Yeah, fits really well. It's kind of a loop, and there's kind of like a scratchy kind of like texture to it. Like it does sound like it's coming from that phonograph.
Yeah, and we see a woman sitting there who looks a bit like an opera singer.
Right.
We thought. But she does have a name in the credits, so this is Senorita Dido.
Okay.
Yeah.
Senorita Dido.
Yeah.
Right, which is possibly a reference to the character Dido that Odysseus is leaving behind.
Yeah, maybe.
In Homer's
right, and was she the one with the lotus blossoms? Was that Dido?
Well, I'm not sure about lotus blossoms. I know that there's an opera that represents it where you get the song Dido's Lament.
Oh, right.
And I would assume it would be more a reference to that than to the 90s pop star Dido.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
But we see her sitting in this room. Also in the room, there's a lamp, which, of course, we have some electricity flowing. Mm-hmm. The lamp, to me, did look similarly like the shape of an owl that keeps propping up in, Sarah Palmer's mirrors or wherever. There's also a structure that's like a gate or something that's right on the other side of that has the double helix design built into it.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's significant, but it did catch my eye.
Mm-hmm.
We do see the giant bell-shaped structure that we saw previously, like you mentioned, when Naito and Cooper go outside into space.
Yeah, we see it there.
We see it here in this
room. The top
room.
of the Eraserhead spaceship.
Right. But now we're seeing it internally, inside this palace.
Yeah, so of course we're wondering where we are. Of course there are some who have speculated maybe this is the White Lodge. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm quite willing to jump to that. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
I have to admit here that as soon as we were there, I said to myself, "Oh my God, we finally see the White Lodge."
Yeah, I think a lot of us did.
Yeah.
I'm just hesitating a little without any further information.
Sure. And then just a moment later, we see the giant step from around this giant bell.
Right, because we get this klaxon sound, this alarm is going off, and the giant enters the frame, or question mark. And
you got 7 there, right?
I don't know if I got 7. I tried.
So, yeah.
And very slowly, as you mentioned, it seems like he's looking at us at first.
Yeah, I felt like he walks around to the side of the bell.
Yeah.
And you think he's going to address something there, but then he just kind of holds staring at the camera, staring at us.
Yeah, just stands there for a minute, but he finally decides, all right, I'll go ahead and shut this alarm off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I kind of felt is that this alarm, when he's looking at us as viewers, he's looking at humanity. Since we're already delving into the possibility of interdimensional travel, looking at a work of film, moving light on celluloid in a theater is kind of looking into another dimension.
Mm-hmm. And we should mention this is black and white, and really striking visually. The previous woodsman scene at the convenience store was also black and white. We get a good amount of black and white footage in this. But the giant goes upstairs rather slowly to his movie theater area.
Right. After turning the button to turn the alarm off.
He turns the alarm off, finally.
So which indicates this was an alarm for him.
I guess.
You know, that's what I took from this is like, so something happened that triggered an alarm because you need to pay attention to something now requiring some action on your part.
Yeah.
And if that ties into the alarm being triggered by the atomic weapon test, then here's the giant going upstairs and he enters into this movie theater.
Yeah,
right?
And it would seem that's what triggered it because when he goes upstairs, what he watches on his screen is stuff that we just saw.
Yeah.
Right? He sees the Bob orb and he sees that convenience store footage and so on. I think
the atomic blast itself and the experiment as well.
And he freezes, I think, on the image that includes Bob's face.
Correct. Right.
And then part of why I wanted to be sure to mention that it was black and white is because you get this scene where the giant starts kind of levitating up in the air.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's kind of vomiting from his brain or something like this. I don't know.
So there's like this glowing golden light that's emitting from his head.
Right. That's in color.
And that's in color. Everything else is in black and white. Also, it should be noted the opera singer Dido comes in.
Yeah, she follows
Senorita Dido comes in and it witnesses this.
And the music is Angelo Badalamenti, original.
Yeah.
And apparently this song he composed is titled The Fireman.
Mm-hmm.
So people might think that perhaps this is referring to the giant. There are 7 letters in fireman.
I see. I guess that could be. I haven't so much seen the giant associated with any fire.
Yeah.
Of course, fire is an ongoing symbol from Fire Walk With Me to the actual explosions that we've just witnessed as well.
Right, and a fireman is like a firefighter, right? So I don't know. I don't know if we'll get more indications along those lines. Regardless, I think it is a very beautiful composition. Would you agree?
It definitely is, yeah. And this also is bringing up the idea of the kind of nostalgia of old movie theaters and art house cinema. And so there's really this comparison of us sitting watching a modern quote-unquote TV show. But I think Lynch and Frost here are bringing up that comparison between film itself in all its grandeur and all its history and what we consider to be modern TV.
Right. He doesn't have like a little CCTV monitor. He's got basically what seems like a movie theater screen setup. Yeah.
And so we see the giant or fireman floats up and emits this light from his head, and it grows and it becomes bigger until it kind of morphs into a sphere.
Yeah, well, or some of it does.
Yes, correct.
Not all of it,
not all of it. So, but something is emitted that floats down back to Dido.
And she's been sitting there or standing there smiling. And it's pretty much as she gets this orb that you can start to see Laura's face.
You see Laura Palmer's face in it, yeah. She leans in and offers it what seems to be a kiss, or just holding it close to her face in some sort of reverence. Yeah. But then she lifts it and kind of lets it go up into the sky. And this orb with Laura's face, similar to point out to the orb we've just recently seen with Bob's face.
Oh, yeah, it's an orb at least, it would seem, yeah.
With a human face in it amongst all of this non-human stuff going on. And it kind of floats up into the sky and goes into this piping structure.
Right, some kind of pneumatic tubing thing I was thinking of.
Yeah, the saxophone spaceship or something, yeah.
Don't know what to call this, but it kind of goes through that. And then it seems... when it gets to the other end, it's like it is drifting off towards Earth. Yeah,
because now we see Earth on this giant movie screen.
Maybe in particular towards Washington
towards
State?
North America, anyway. We don't see it get too close to Earth, but you get the impression that this is the moment possibly that Laura Palmer's soul is being delivered to Earth, maybe in connection to the introduction of Bob's face or soul.
Yeah, so I think a couple things we should pause and discuss here. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
And when?
Yeah.
Right? I think you just said, and a lot of people had this reaction, and we're almost, I think, told visually that this is happening in reaction to seeing the Bob orb.
Correct.
Right.
I got that feeling that the giant,
that's fair.
The giant heard an alarm, went and stared at us a little bit, implicating us in this whole fiasco. Turned the alarm off, went upstairs, dumped some of his light into the ether to create Laura, and then delivered that to the Earth. Is kind of what I felt.
I'm not sure how far to go here. It seems like it does. I agree. Seem to be indicating that this is happening with Laura, kind of in response to Bob, but people seem to be thinking. I don't know if you're thinking this, but people seem to be thinking that this is to counteract Bob or something. Were you reading it along these lines? Or?
I was. I kind of felt that the giant was like, "Oh crap, my Laura Palmer alarm went off. That means humans have really fucked up this time." Or,
I'm less sure because
like the Watchers, there's some element of like following along with human activity. And in Secret History, it does go into talk about how, according to Dougie Milford in these top secret files with Project Blue Book, all of the atomic weapons tests supposedly came along with some unidentified flying objects observing, quote unquote, observing them.
Yeah.
So that's in the history there and in the documents that you can find online in ufology pages and such. But so this idea that there's some other race, possibly civilization, watching humans in this important moment.
That's not what I want to put pressure on. What I want to put pressure on has to do with Laura. I mean, Laura Palmer never struck me as a savior figure in what we know of her, right? And so I just don't know. Maybe there's some more complicated plan going on here. It does certainly read like this, that this is happening in response to seeing Bob. But also, when are we? We were in 1945. This footage is still in black and white.
Yeah, there's some
question. Are we in 1945 here? Are we
there's
outside
some question
of time?
As to whether or not we're even outside of space-time itself, though.
Yeah, that's right? Where I was going to take this is, are we even in that normal flow of things? What is that kind of temporal aspect? And also thinking about, Laura Palmer wouldn't be born until the early 70s.
Sure. So, and there's a lot of conjecture here, but we don't know the time frame of this, and we don't know how long a Laura Palmer orb takes to fly around Earth before it hits Washington.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, this also, we were talking about it with Bob, and the question of whether or to what extent we're getting Bob's origin. I want to ask a similar question about Laura. I don't like, or I hesitate to embrace the idea that somehow the giant's creating Laura or something. That seems weird to me. And I guess I don't want that to be true.
Right.
I don't know if I can say I have evidence that it's not true.
Right. I don't know if the giant's really creating a blonde high school girl as much as, the symbolic dichotomy, the polarity between the two. Maybe. I feel like it goes back to kind of a yin-yang thing. And whether or not Laura is the essence of goodness, I don't think is as much as possibly the essence of maybe innocence.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about, what if, this is going to get weird. Okay. Thinking about time and this weird relationship to time and all of that. When we saw Laura get sucked out of the lodge, I started thinking, what if there's some weird time loop going on here and the giant is here sucking Laura out of the lodge?
That's interesting.
Follow me here?
Yeah.
That could be. I think that could be possible. Again, very hard to try to piece together what the temporal logic of all of this might
exactly.
be.
I was just going to bring something like that up. This interdimensional travel, the possibilities of that, and also this kind of dream logic that we've been witnessing the whole time.
Yeah.
There could be something in the act of, basically there... It could be said that there's some really far out cosmological events happening that are above us understanding, but the way that we can start to understand them is by picturing a father murdering his own daughter, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
it
can start there, but then this whole time we've been slowly cued in that there's more and more and much bigger story happening.
And to go a little further with the time stuff and maybe a little speculation, since we're in the midst of all this weirdness in episode 8. I'm not sure I have a really good, well worked out theory of the relationship between these beings and normal time.
Yeah.
But one thought I have is something along the lines maybe of thinking about time as the fourth dimension. and that they could maybe experience that in a different way than we do, which wouldn't put them fully outside of time necessarily, wouldn't necessarily mean everything's predetermined or anything like that, but would maybe put their experience of time closer to our experience of space.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Something like
and
this.
I like this kind of conjecture. Is it future or is it past?
Right.
And the idea of could you remember the future? Like you could remember the past.
We definitely see indications of that. We have. I mean, the Annie stuff in Fire Walk with Me.
Yep.
With Laura, talking about Dale. There's weird time logic there too. So anything's possible, I guess.
So this is also exciting. And just when you think you have been totally mind-fucked and the sequence is over and you couldn't get any crazier than this.
There's more.
But wait, there's more. So it cuts from this and we go back to 1945 into the same New Mexico desert.
You get the date on the screen again.
The date on the screen starts ticking down, and this reminded me of the countdown from 10 that we saw previously, but this time it's ticking up from 1945 to 1956.
Right, which is 11 years at best, I guess. We land on August 5th, 1956 even.
Right, we're still in black and white.
Now, August 5th is stuck in my memory here because I have not been able to find anything this might be referring to. Have you?
No.
Historical events or anything? No. I'm still just wondering why 1956? Why August 5th, 1956?
I can't say I looked up that date. There's nothing that I know about specifically. When were Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Was that not in August? Early August even?
They were back in 45. So... I don't know why we're getting this date. One interesting thing here is what we cut to pretty quickly is one of these eggs hatching in the desert, right? And if this is one of the eggs we saw before, this would seem to imply these eggs have an 11-year gestation period, apparently.
Yeah, or, I mean, what we saw in the ectoplasm was hundreds of them, so I kind of got the idea that they could have been hatching ever since. Maybe. Again, this is one of those time things that if we're talking about interdimensional beings...
Who knows?
They might have a whole different set of rules.
We're just focused on this one. I did notice in looking back at that experiment scene that it does kind of maybe seem like one of them might have sort of left the stream of the others. I'm not sure about that.
Right. But nevertheless, we see this one egg in the middle of the desert. It starts to hatch.
And out comes...
It's no chicken...
No.
What is this? There's a couple references of this we can talk about, but initially what you basically see is, oh my god, is this a frog or is this a bug?
Yeah, what are we going to land on? Moth frog or frog moth?
Well, we have moth frog from the quinoa video that David Lynch has said that.
Yeah.
We also have in the access guide.
Yeah,
there is a reference to the Native Americans having this interdimensional figure that's kind of considered a good figure. It seems to read. The access guide tells us. Chinook legends describe the appearance long ago of an ancestress of the Frog Clan. They tell of a house floating in the middle of a lake. On the house sits a woman, her knees, breasts, eyebrows, and the backs of her hands covered with flying frogs. Ever since that time, the flying frog has been viewed as a special crest. So, I mean, this is how the access guide puts it, but if we're seeing this in a kind of a new... revamped symbological way, we see that this flying frog might be associated with this little girl, and perhaps this little girl might be connected to the character that's in the White Lodge, the house on the lake.
Yeah, we've seen a house, we've seen a
we might be reaching a little bit.
We're reaching a little bit.
This is coming from the Twin Peaks canon, though, from the access guide.
It is a definite connection that exists,
and so twice in the access guide, right there in that same reference, it talks about flying frogs.
Yeah, some imagery we're seeing.
Interdimensional travel, and a palace atop a rock outcropping right in the middle of a giant lake.
Yeah, which seems reminiscent of what we were just seeing.
This is in there with
no
what we
kneeling woman necessarily, but
we can assume pretty safely that Frost and Lynch are pulling from Native American mythology with both of these scenarios.
Yeah.
And so the initial reaction that you get to this creature is basically kind of disgust and freaking out because you've never seen anything like this. You've never wanted to see a flying frog. If you look closely to the face area of it, which is kind of hard to see actually, it's got a very, very pointed, like hummingbird kind of beak on it as well.
Oh, does it? Yeah, it's just a gross little thing.
So it's a
but
mishmash of...
Definitely, like a Lynch thing,
But it's also because it reminded me of the possibility of radiation. We've seen radiation mutate organic material.
Yeah, that is true.
So it could be because of that. It could be just straight up interdimensional seed.
Well, some interdimensionality is going on. I mean, so if you're putting those together, then I don't even know where we're going. Like, oh, the eggs would have been one thing, but radiation, I don't know.
Right. But just, symbolically, the things it reminds me of. And we're in the world of this radioactive element thing happening. And even another funny thing that hit me was the phrase, I don't know if you've heard this phrase, but if a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass a-hoppin'.
Yeah, you mentioned this to me.
Very,
I wasn't familiar
silly.
with it.
Might not have anything at all to do with this, but I can't help but think that is a reference. If a frog had wings. Well, this is the first time I've ever seen
and it's kind
a frog with wings.
Again, I'm not familiar, but it's kind of like, if dog, rabbit.
Either way, they're very silly, but at the same time, I didn't know what to do with this. Half of me was like, oh, how ridiculously funny and silly, and the other half of me was completely disturbed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just seeing it. And another thing I would like to point out is the CGI here was done very, very well. This is really good looking. It looks like they somehow actually just cloned these creatures and made one. Yeah. The way it's kind of moving through the dirt and it's kind of struggling a little bit at first before it can carry itself away.
Are you sure it's CGI?
Probably in so much that I can't explain how else it would be.
Yeah, probably it is. I don't know. I'm just thinking about, David Lynch will never tell anyone ever how he made the Eraserhead baby, for example.
Right. And I think that there's certain secrets that he would use.
He has that kind of history.
A quick aside story, a personal aside story that can totally be cut out, but a quick aside story that might have something to do with this. I actually once was in Las Vegas, and I met Mike Anderson.
Oh, right.
Just very strange. I came across a bank of... the kind of like Dougie's jackpot machines, the quarter machines.
Yeah.
And I ran right into him, and I said, "Hey, you're Mike Anderson," and he said, "Yes, I am." Introduced myself to him. My name happens to be Mike also. Yeah. I was there working with my boss, whose name was Mike. And I said, "Hey, you want to come join two other Mikes and sit and have a drink with us and watch this band that's playing?" And he did. He came and he sat and he talked with us.
Very cool.
So besides being very cool, he made a point to tell us, he says, this is a meeting of the Mikes. And he did a little echo, which I thought was hilarious. But one story he told, which is the reason I'm going on this aside, was that I asked him about Lynch and working with Lynch, and he did say to me one of the funniest experiences he had with Lynch was when he was out having drinks, I think, with their producer and possibly with Angelo also.
Yeah.
And he told the story that suddenly Lynch spoke up to him and said, "You know what, Mike? We're going to lose the nose, Mike." And I'm kind of confused as he's telling me the story. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Lynch says to me, we'll have a plastic surgeon standing by. We cut your nose off and we shoot the scene that we need. As soon as I say cut, that plastic surgeon will put your nose back on. Nobody will know the difference."
Yeah.
And just a hilarious moment that, they might be fucking with Mike Anderson, or it's just Lynch having fun. Or if Mike were up for it, we totally would have seen a scene
lose the nose,
with the actor's nose had been cut off. But anyway, just this idea that I think that Lynch really would be willing to pull some of these crazy scenes that you would only else believe that it was CGI, but maybe there's something else going on.
Right. And we mentioned also briefly how David Lynch has his own personal anecdote about seeing these frog moths when he was a younger man.
Right.
It's in the middle of this quinoa video. I'm sure you can find it on the internet if anyone's interested.
Yeah, check that out. He does call them moth frogs.
Okay, so
yeah,
frog moth or moth frog. We're going to
or frog moth, whatever he calls it. But he's saying it's a combination of two different creatures, which is exactly what we're seeing here.
Right, exactly.
So we see the frog moth crawl away. There's a slight transition scene where it shows that we're under a full moon.
Right.
And then from that transitions to
this boy and girl walking, right? This young love kind of thing, or the very beginning of it. He's walking her home, I guess, from wherever they are. They walk by what looked to me a lot like that convenience store we saw earlier.
Right.
But without the sign that says convenience store.
Yeah. You see the two gas tanks out front.
Yeah.
You see the same shape of windows and doors arranged.
But now it has a gable. So there's some above space now, which is relevant, I guess.
Right. This is above the convenience store, yeah.
So they're walking along, and it's cute, and she finds a penny, and it's heads up, so that's good luck, and blah, blah, blah.
Right, a coin reference, which we've seen already with Red flipping coins and saying something about heads or tails.
That was a dime, and we had the Hochstein with the buffalo nickel.
Right.
Now we've got the penny. So
okay.
I guess keep your eyes out for the quarter. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
But this another coin that might be significant because we've seen several characters have an interaction that way.
yeah, and it was kind of interesting that she seems to know things about him, like that he lives near the school. Right. And he says, "How do you know that?" And she says something like, "I just do."
I know about you. Yeah, I kind of got the
stuck out to
impression
me.
that she had a crush on him and so was interested in researching, him.
Yeah,
basically.
maybe that, or I was thinking maybe she's got some, magical intuition or something.
Right.
I don't know. We don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
Right. And
tons of conjecture on this, by the way, too, after episode 8.
Oh, yeah. But even watched through the credits, and what do you get there? Boy, 1956. Girl, 1956.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But lots of people have speculated. I've heard everything from possibility of being a young Sarah Palmer to a young log lady before she gets to the western part of the United States. And one funny thing is that, there's this face mutation apps that are out there.
Yeah.
So somebody ran
People were
through
getting
and
into
they took all the Twin Peaks original actors and entered them into this, and then took this little girl's face to cross-reference.
Yeah.
And the app actually spit out Nadine, and it
Really?
it morphed most closely to Nadine.
Well, I've actually, I don't know if we've talked about this, really. I've come to a pretty settled theory in my mind. You want to know what it is about who this boy and who this girl are?
What's that?
I'm putting myself out there right now.
Oh, we're already out there.
I know, but I'm going out on a limb.
Okay.
I think they're no one we know. Yeah. Woo, crazy speculation.
Yeah.
I just think that ultimately, all these people were going off about who this is going to be. I think there's every chance that it's not any of the characters that we know from before. I mean, we're just getting this little kind of vignette as part of this thing in this episode.
I could see that.
I haven't come across any evidence that any of our characters we know were in New Mexico at that time. That was the big thing that I was potentially looking for.
And we so desperately want to connect any dots we find, right?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
want to figure out the
secret
Twin Peaks code.
One of those times where you want to do that. Of course, you're led to ask yourself, who are these characters? You keep waiting throughout the scene for one to call the other by name, and they never do.
Right.
I just think, knowing Lynch and, Twin Peaks and Lynch and Frost, I think there's every chance that they are just a boy and a girl in 1956.
I think that very well could be. They were just the example of the subjects that we needed to see what this frog was all about and what it was going to do.
Yeah, and part of that is, with the next, where we're going here, when you see the people falling asleep, she's one of them, but there are other people in town too. Like, I kind of think she might just be an example more than someone we're ultimately going to know in Twin Peaks.
So this young man basically gives her a kiss.
Yep.
It's a very, very cute moment. It's innocence. It's first love. It's puppy love. It's first kiss. You know, and then she kind of mumbles something in her nervousness after she's kissed that kind of stumbles her back up the porch into her own home. Then we cut to so that scene ends with them partying in the night, two young lovers, innocent.
Basically,
and then we cut to a desert again, nighttime.
Yeah, and this is where you see, first of all, I think, the kind of figure of the woodsman descending from the air.
Yeah, that was a bit strange to me. Floating down from the sky to just casually take a step on the earth.
Right, but and then recall in that scene from The Missing Pieces in the convenience store, this line, we descend from pure air, or whatever exactly it is. So I thought of that here. I also at first, I don't know about you, for some reason at first I thought this might be, it kind of looked to me like Jerry Horn. Maybe I was just making that up. But I thought of that in the moment.
Well, he's got the beard and he's out in the middle of the woods.
Just because the last time we saw him, he was lost in the woods. But
he thinks he's high.
It's definitely not. The actor who plays the main one, the one who talks, who's in the credits as Woodsman, is this guy, Robert Broski, who also has a career as a Abe Lincoln impersonator.
Right. Which you've got to wonder if that had some, specific reason why he was cast,
Well, in the penny just before this too, so it's sort of two Lincoln references at least. I saw online some people who drew him on $5 bills, and I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So he appears. The first interaction we see him is stopping a couple who's driving their car along the highway.
Yeah, and what's weird is, so people seem to be kind of transfixed by him.
Yeah, he starts speaking to you, and you can't even take your eyes off of him. First of all, he's got
a light.
Yeah, he says got a light, but
Got a light.
his voice itself is manipulated. It's got some electrical quality to it.
You think so? Okay.
I do, yeah. There's some sort of modulation or something that's happening that it's
I wasn't
not
sure
just
if
deep voice.
Yeah.
It's affected voice.
No, I follow you here. I just wasn't entirely sure whether that was something that was manipulated or just, him speaking low. But fair enough. Okay. And there's another guy too in front of the car, right?
Yes.
So there's not just this one woodsman. There's one who talks, but there are clearly more than just him.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we get this scene with this couple that's driving, and at first the driver is transfixed. He says, got the cigarette, and he asked the couple in the car, got a light. Seemingly innocuous, but the way this goes down is, again, extremely disturbing. This really freaked me out.
Yeah.
Very, very scary moment. The way he's saying it, the threat level that's there, even though you haven't seen any deliberate threats,
And it seems like they kind of slow the footage down, but at least this guy has the wherewithal to speed away. Finally,
yeah, I think, the footage is slowing down, and you hear kind of a muffled sound of his wife kind of trying to snap him out of it and say, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And so, luckily he does speed away and he gets away from the scenario, but it does establish these charred characters as quite threatening and quite scary.
Right.
There's also some electrical buzzing happening.
Definitely electrical buzzing and the electricity or another kind of electromagnetic wave at play in the radio station, right? So we get right around here, the song starts playing, My Prayer, the Platters song.
The Platters, yeah. And some of the lyrics of which are, when the twilight is gone, you come into my heart and stay while I pray.
Yeah.
So
when the twilight is gone is an
very
interesting
sweet
phrase, too.
Yeah.
So it's when it's fully dark.
Yes.
Right. And we go to the radio station. So we see the people in there.
KPJX,
But we also cut to a couple of other people around this town. It was noteworthy to me that we see a mechanic and a diner waitress.
Yep.
I'm thinking Big Ed and Norma. At least that kind of parallel.
Yeah,
right?
There's definitely a duality there.
And our woodsman, who's been asking for a light with the cigarette in his mouth, he starts walking towards the radio station. And then we get this culminating in what I think is one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen.
Which is this character approaching the radio station, walking in the front lobby door, right?
Yeah.
He first approaches the woman that's there working the front desk.
Right, and again, she seems sort of transfixed, and it kind of slows down, and she's kind of under his power. This is how I read it anyway.
Yeah, this just for a moment reminded me of Ike the Spike rushing in and killing Lorraine.
Interesting.
From earlier, just the way that she seemed kind of shocked, not knowing what to make of it at first, and transfixed in some way.
Yeah.
Where she doesn't run away from him, she kind of sidesteps in confusion, and then he stabs her.
Well, and she doesn't offer him a light either.
Yeah.
So
the character comes in, and he does kill her, but he kills her by squishing her skull.
Yeah, this move. So we're still in black and white, and he puts his hand on her skull, and you hear this kind of crunching and splattering, and with her, it's pretty quick, right? So what we see splattering is blood, I guess.
Yeah, you don't see the whole thing here, but you do see enough blood drop from the body that you assume that he's just smashed her head open, basically.
Right.
To which he goes in and approaches the disc jockey that's actually playing the Platters song.
Right. He kind of looks up, and the way this is all shot was just great, I thought.
Yeah.
And reminiscent of these old horror movies that were maybe a bit cheesier or campier than this.
Yeah.
But it's playing with that. I think we're definitely alluding to those old kind of horror films to some extent, right?
Yeah, this is the new age, the 50s, the bomb, and everything that came after there was just like basically increasing in troubles for everybody.
Right. So the woodsman kicks off the Platter song, No More My Prayer, grabs the disc jockey's head.
And his microphone.
But he's holding on to that guy's head the whole time. That guy's got that pained look on his face.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. What's going on with that? Because this first woman he dispatches with pretty quickly.
Yes.
But he's holding on to this other guy's head for quite a while.
Yeah. And he starts his chant.
He says, "This is the water, and this is the well. Drink full and descend. The horse is the white of the eyes, and dark within." Yeah.
So there's a few things in that. One thing that you pointed out is that he's holding onto the disc jockey's head this whole time.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the scene where Mr. C grabs onto Jack's face
squishes
at
it
the
around.
storage unit. Yeah, and he's standing there squishing it around, just holding onto the face like this symbol of power. Like, you're my puppet. You can't do anything. You know, I'm holding on to your head.
Yeah.
And you're not even doing anything defensively.
Well, I got thinking about it in terms of whether it's somehow involved in the kind of magic he seems to be doing. Because he repeats that poem over and over and over again. I never got bored of it, but he repeats it over and over again. And he starts cutting to these people around town who are listening to the radio, passing out, basically.
Yeah.
Our mechanic, our waitress. Ultimately, our little girl, although she's already sitting on her bed.
Right.
The other ones just kind of fall over. Right. So I started thinking about whether holding on to the guy's head played any role in that. I'm going to call it magic.
Yeah. What else could you say it as? It's magic. It's one of these moments where, like a Pied Piper or the Wicked Witch of the West kind of moment, putting people to sleep.
Right.
And because we see it happen to a couple people, and all of those people are listening to this broadcast.
Right.
Again, it's one of these moments where through an electrical signal, there is some evil being done. And so we see these people passing out, and what we see following that happens to the little girl could be happening to all of these people.
Well, that's what I was going to say, right?
But we don't see it happen to all of them. We see it happen to the little girl, and that is the moth frog.
Moth frog.
Right, jumps from the floor up to her window sill, and very from there to her bed, and very slowly, like you say, crawls inside of her mouth. The lingering and the pushing of the leg up against the nose, and the the very slow pulling in of the last leg that you see into the darkness of her mouth.
Yeah, and I was going to mention something about
so creepy.
That. I was noticing that last back leg in particular. I was noticing how it has 5 fingers or toes.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Which I guess is accurate to frogs. But I was reading something fairly recently about why cartoon characters tend to have less than 5 fingers.
Yeah.
And I thought this was really interesting. They tend to just have 3 instead of 4 fingers, 3 fingers and a thumb. You know what I'm talking about, right? And part of the reason involves this way that even early animators found that when they drew all 4 fingers and a thumb, that they were entering like the uncanny valley.
Oh, okay.
Like it seemed weird. When it was accurate, it seemed weird, but somehow if you made it 3 instead of 4, then the mind corrected and it seemed weirdly normal.
Yeah.
So I thought of that here.
This actually is, if you remember back to maybe podcast 1 or 2, this is, I think, what you've just described is part of the backbone of David Lynch.
Yeah.
It's so weird because it's accurate.
Yeah.
And everybody's running around calling it, oh, this is so weird and avant-garde. And it's like, no, he's pulling up an accurate mirror to you, and you're uncomfortable. You can't cope with the fact that you and your brain inside a human body is so freaking weird.
Yeah.
And so that's very interesting to state that, because it is like that, I think, is if it was a little bit more fantasy, a little bit more monsters, or if it came out in the beginning and somebody said, ooh, it's magic, there's a witch in Twin Peaks, everybody would be more comfortable with it,
Exactly.
But the fact is, these inexplicable evil deeds done by a human who then claims they were influenced by something from somewhere else, that's the kind of stuff that really happens in life,
Right, yeah, very close to reality.
Yeah, very, very interesting and quite disturbing. So that last shot that we're left with of this moth frog crawling into the mouth, and so this also harks back to a couple of things we've seen of some evil force being inside somebody else.
Yeah.
The idea of the guys, both Dougie and Mr. C, kind of vomiting up garmonbozia, something that comes in or out through the mouth, or just having kind of a demon inside of you, if you will.
I do think because we saw all of those eggs earlier, that there is every chance that this happened to other people.
Right.
Not just this girl that we're seeing. Although it's striking, this image of her that we come back to, right? We go to the woodsman leaving the radio station. He walks into the darkness. Very creepy.
Yeah, you hear a horse whinnying in that moment.
Yeah.
And he's referenced a horse being the white of the eyes.
The horse is the white of the eyes, which of course makes us think of the white horse we've seen a few times.
Correct.
That Sarah Palmer saw.
Yeah.
most recently, perhaps we saw in the lodge space in one of the early episodes here of The Return.
Yeah, when the curtains fly up and go away.
The white of the eyes made me think of the doppelgangers from the season 2 finale,
right,
who had white eyes.
Yeah.
And of course, I guess we all have white in our eyes.
Yeah, well, I think which is exposed when your eyes are bulging open as much as they can be.
Right.
You know.
And dark within.
Which could be the pupil of the eyes, or when you're actually around the white of the eyes, it's dark within that. Since we're analyzing this chant, the other part about it is saying, this is the water, this is the well, drink full and descend. So when I think of water and a well, it's like blood and body. It's like the church's thing with the Eucharist, right? Yeah. And if you can drink full and then descend, are you saying descend into the well? And in order to do that, you've got to clear the water out of the well.
Maybe.
So drink it full and then descend down into the well. I don't know, maybe reaching a little bit.
Maybe. I also thought this phrase drink full was kind of, maybe that's drinking more than you need to drink, right? So a number of things to think about here. I think it's very cool. And a really cool episode overall.
And like you were about to point out, it does go after that. It does go back to the little girl laying in bed.
Right, and we end there.
She's breathing. You can see
it's
moving, that she's asleep. She's wheezing a little bit, maybe. The credits roll, and you continue to see her there, unconscious.
And I kept waiting to see if something was going to happen, even though the credits were there. I was transfixed.
Still transfixed. I was transfixed a good minute after this episode ended, still just staring at the TV like, what have I just gone through? Yeah. But there is a little tad bit of this electrical hum that you do hear.
Yeah.
Even up until the end of the credits. If you're watching her and she's sitting there, she's got a moth frog inside of her belly or wherever.
I guess.
There is that little bit of an electrical buzz, so it gave me the eerie feeling that there is something evil inside of her. Of course, that's just what I'm...
Moth frog definitely does not seem good to me.
And so the other kind of Kubrick moment that I'm feeling out of this from 2001, you mentioned earlier the Star Child.
Yeah.
So at the end of that whole trip in 2001, we are delivered to the Star Child, which is a symbol of rebirth, innocence, a new age of humanity, if you will, but represented as a fetus, Yeah. And so that implies new birth to me. Whereas at the end of Lynch's trip, using the similar music and similar kind of concept and editing, we're delivered with this charred person that says God alive. And I just thought, in juxtaposing those two figures, if they're still representing, a changing of the guard of humanity, a leap, an evolutionary jump, what is the next stage of humanity? Yeah. It just seems so bleak that we're just covered in oil. We're going to destroy the earth with our, fossil fuels. And the main question people are going to be asking is, hey, can you light my cigarette? Yeah. And so it's to me the opposite of the peace and the harmony and the rebirth and the growth of the natural element. Yeah. And it somehow it's a symbol of destruction. And so subliminally I take it as this major symbol of the threat of losing humankind, of us destroying ourselves in a very real way. And that's the scariest part about it.
Absolutely. And I think the bomb always kind of represented that to people. It's maybe faded a bit for a lot of people here in the U.S. recently. Right. Well, maybe it's come back a little bit now. I don't know. But the Cold War's been over and so on. So, but yeah, the bomb is definitely destruction.
All right. So on that note, what an episode. Just Indeed. One of my favorite things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was really great. And I was blown away. And I don't know if I will ever stop thinking about this episode.
Yeah, it's true. And another thing I think you pointed out to me before is if they really only got 8 episodes to begin with, like was The Talk, this would have still been mind-blowing. Episode 8 would have sat as a really amazing way to culminate all of this and to end it, right?
Yeah, well, I think for me at least, being so comfortable ultimately with how the original run ended, they could kind of end this at any time without answering any questions and be like, well, all right.
Yeah, that's true.
But I want as much as possible.
Exactly.
So I love that we've got 10 more episodes.
Yep.
Really looking forward to continuing to get into it and discuss it with you. And I hope everyone's enjoying this. And
yeah.
See you next
I know
time.
I really am. And I think it's all going to come together. So really great. All right. Well, Cameron, it's fun talking about all this as usual.
Agreed.
And I'll catch you on the next episode.
Okay.
All right. See ya.
Yeah.